Greetings, esteemed listeners. Today, we delve into a profound aspect of human interaction, one that often leaves us bewildered and wounded. The reason they hurt you and act like nothing ever happened. This phenomenon, seemingly callous and dismissive, is not merely an act of malice, but often a complex reflection of an individual's own unresolved internal landscape. When someone inflicts pain upon another, whether through words, actions, or neglect, and subsequently behaves as if no transgression occurred, it is rarely a sign of true indifference towards you. Instead, it frequently points to a deep-seated inability within themselves to confront, acknowledge, or process their own actions and the repercussions thereof. Consider the human psyche as a vast, intricate garden. For many, this garden is untended, filled with weeds of past traumas, insecurities, and unaddressed emotional wounds. When these individuals interact with the world, their actions are often dictated by these internal imbalances. They may lash out, withdraw, or project their own discomfort onto others. The act of hurting someone, even inadvertently, can trigger a profound sense of guilt, shame, or inadequacy within them. However, if they lack the emotional tools, the self-awareness, or the courage to face these uncomfortable truths, their defense mechanism often defaults to denial. To acknowledge the hurt they caused would be to acknowledge their own pain, their own flaws, their own vulnerability. This confrontation is often too terrifying, too overwhelming for an ego that has built walls to protect itself from perceived threats. Therefore, the acting like nothing happened is not a statement about your worth or the validity of your pain. It is a desperate attempt by them to maintain their internal equilibrium, however fragile it may be. It is a psychological shield, deflecting the uncomfortable reality of their impact. They might genuinely not see the extent of the hurt, not because they are inherently evil, but because their own perception is clouded by their internal struggles. Their focus is inward on protecting their own fragile sense of self, rather than outward on the consequences of their actions. This does not excuse their behavior, nor does it diminish your experience of pain. But understanding this underlying mechanism can shift our perspective from one of pure victimhood to one of compassionate observation. It allows us to see their actions not as a direct assault on our being, but as a symptom of their own suffering. This understanding is the first step towards detaching from the immediate emotional sting and beginning our own journey of healing independent of their acknowledgement or apology. It is about recognizing that their inability to acknowledge is a reflection of their journey, not a definitive statement about yours. We often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of suffering because we cling to expectations of how others should behave, how they should react, and how they should acknowledge the pain they have caused. This brings us to our second keynote, the illusion of expectation and the path of non-attachment. When someone hurts us and then acts as if nothing happened, our natural inclination is to demand recognition, an apology, or some form of restitution. We expect them to see our pain, to validate our experience, and to take responsibility for their actions. These expectations, while seemingly reasonable from our perspective, are often the very chains that bind us to continued suffering. The universe, and indeed human interaction, rarely conforms to our precise expectations. Each individual operates from their own unique set of experiences, beliefs, and levels of consciousness. To expect another person to respond exactly as we would, or as we believe they should, is to impose our internal map onto their entirely different territory. When they fail to meet these expectations, which they often will, we experience disappointment, frustration, and deeper hurt. The illusion lies in believing that our peace and healing are contingent upon their acknowledgement or apology. This gives away our power, making our emotional well-being dependent on external factors that are entirely beyond our control. The path of non-attachment, a cornerstone of ancient wisdom traditions, offers a profound liberation from this cycle. Non-attachment does not mean indifference or a lack of care. It means releasing our grip on the outcome of interactions and the behavior of others. It means understanding that while we can influence, we cannot control. When someone hurts us and acts as if nothing happened, our attachment to the idea that they must acknowledge it becomes a source of continued agony. By letting go of this attachment, we reclaim our inner sovereignty. We recognize that their actions and their subsequent lack of acknowledgement are their burden to carry, not ours. Our healing is an internal process, independent of their participation. This practice of non-attachment allows us to observe the situation without the intense emotional charge of unmet expectations. We can acknowledge our own pain, process our feelings, and then consciously choose to release the need for their validation. It is a radical act of self-love and empowerment. It allows us to move forward, not by forgetting the hurt, but by detaching from the expectation that the hurter must fix it. Our healing becomes an inward journey, guided by our own wisdom and strength, rather than an outward plea for recognition from someone who may be incapable of giving it. This is not about condoning their actions, but about freeing ourselves from their lingering shadow. In the face of someone's hurtful actions and subsequent disregard, it is easy to feel powerless, to feel as though our very foundation has been shaken. This brings us to our third keynote, the Unshakable Core, cultivating inner mastery in the face of disregard. True strength is not found in controlling others or forcing their acknowledgement, but in mastering our own internal landscape. When external circumstances are beyond our control, our focus must shift inward towards fortifying our inner resilience. Inner mastery begins with awareness. It is the practice of observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment, recognizing them as transient phenomena rather than definitive truths. When hurt, anger, or confusion arise, we do not suppress them, nor do we let them consume us. Instead, we acknowledge their presence, understand their source, and then consciously choose our response. This is the essence of true freedom, the space between stimulus and response. Someone may act in a way that causes us pain, and they may choose to ignore it. We cannot control their actions, but we can control our reaction. We can choose not to allow their disregard to define our worth or dictate our emotional state. Cultivating an unshakable core involves several practices. Firstly, mindfulness, being fully present with our experience, observing the sensations in our body, the thoughts in our mind, and the emotions in our heart without getting entangled. Secondly, self-compassion, treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a dear friend who is suffering. This means acknowledging our pain without self-blame, allowing ourselves to feel and providing ourselves with the comfort and reassurance we need. Thirdly, setting boundaries, recognizing that while we cannot control others, we can control our proximity to them, the degree to which we allow their energy to impact us. This may involve physical distance, emotional detachment, or clear communication of our limits. Ultimately, cultivating inner mastery is about building an internal sanctuary, a place of peace and strength that remains untouched by the storms of external circumstances. When someone hurts us and acts like nothing happened, their actions are a test of our inner fortitude. Do we allow their behavior to shatter our peace, or do we use it as an opportunity to deepen our practice of self-mastery? By choosing the latter, we transform a moment of potential suffering into a catalyst for profound personal growth. We become less reactive, more discerning, and more deeply rooted in our own inherent wisdom and strength. This unshakable core becomes our refuge, our source of unwavering stability, regardless of how others choose to behave. It is perhaps the most challenging aspect of this journey, yet also the most liberating, extending compassion to those who have caused us pain and acted as if nothing happened. This brings us to our fourth keynote, the seeds of compassion, understanding their unseen burdens. This is not about condoning their actions or absolving them of responsibility. It is about recognizing that their behavior often stems from their own suffering, their own limitations, and their own unseen burdens. Every individual carries a history, a tapestry woven with experiences, traumas, fears, and unmet needs. When someone hurts another and then denies it, they are often operating from a place of profound inner turmoil. They may be deeply insecure, struggling with feelings of inadequacy, or burdened by past hurts that they themselves have never processed. Their inability to acknowledge their impact on you might be a manifestation of their own inability to acknowledge their own pain, their own flaws, or their own shadow side. They might be so consumed by their internal battles that they lack the capacity to truly see or empathize with the pain they inflict on others. Consider the analogy of a wounded animal. When cornered or in pain, an animal may lash out, not out of malice, but out of fear and instinct for self-preservation. Similarly, many individuals, when confronted with their own perceived failings or the discomfort of having caused harm, may react defensively, denying reality as a means of protecting their fragile ego. Their acting like nothing happened is a symptom of their own internal wounds, their own unaddressed suffering. It is a tragic irony that the very act of causing pain and denying it often perpetuates their own cycle of suffering. Cultivating compassion for such individuals does not mean inviting further harm or excusing their behavior. It means seeing beyond the immediate action to the underlying human struggle. It means recognizing that their capacity for empathy and accountability may be stunted, not because they are inherently evil, but because they themselves are navigating a difficult inner landscape. This compassionate understanding allows us to detach from the personal affront and view the situation with a broader, more enlightened perspective. It prevents us from being consumed by bitterness or resentment, which ultimately harms only ourselves. By planting the seeds of compassion, we not only gain a deeper understanding of human behavior, but we also create space within our own hearts for healing and liberation, freeing ourselves from the heavy burden of holding on to anger and judgment. This act of compassion, though challenging, is a profound gift we give to ourselves. Our final keynote, and perhaps the most transformative, is the gift of release, embracing forgiveness and moving forward. When someone hurts us and acts as if nothing happened, the lingering pain can become a heavy burden, a constant reminder of the injustice. Forgiveness in this context is not about condoning their actions, nor is it about reconciling with the person who caused the hurt. It is a profound act of self-liberation, a conscious decision to release the emotional chains that bind us to the past and to the actions of another. Forgiveness is fundamentally an internal process. It is about letting go of the anger, resentment, and desire for retribution that can fester within us, consuming our energy and blocking our path to peace. When we hold onto these negative emotions, we are essentially allowing the person who hurt us to continue to exert power over our emotional state, even in their absence or their denial. Their lack of acknowledgement becomes a constant open wound, preventing our healing. By choosing to forgive, we sever this connection. We declare that our peace is more important than holding onto the bitterness, that our future is more valuable than reliving the past. This does not mean forgetting the experience or pretending it didn't happen. It means acknowledging the pain, processing it, and then consciously choosing to release the emotional charge associated with it. It means understanding that while the event occurred, we are no longer defined by it. It is about reclaiming our narrative and our power. Forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves, allowing us to move forward with lightness and renewed energy. It frees us from the cycle of victimhood and empowers us to create a future unburdened by past grievances. Moving forward also involves a commitment to self-care and self-protection. Forgiveness does not mean opening ourselves up to further harm. It means learning from the experience, setting stronger boundaries, and choosing to surround ourselves with relationships that are built on mutual respect and acknowledgement. It is a process of integrating the lesson, healing the wound, and then consciously stepping into a new phase of our journey. The act of forgiveness, especially when the other party offers no apology or acknowledgement, is a testament to our profound inner strength and our unwavering commitment to our own well-being. It is the ultimate act of reclaiming our peace, not from them, but from within ourselves. Embrace this gift of release and step forward into a future of freedom and profound inner peace.